Hi, my name is Katja Frimberger. I'm lecturer in education studies at the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow in Scotland. And Don't Educate Me, Move Me is the paper I've just published in the Journal of Philosophy of Education. I was curious about the meaning of education in two instances of aesthetic education: when we encounter an artwork as a spectator and when we make an artwork as an artist. So my general interest was to explore the educational movement that occurs when we are drawn as spectators or makers into an aesthetic experience. Think, for example, about your favorite movie, the way it draws you into the story, how you lose yourself in its world and the relationships it brings into focus. How can we understand the structure of interaction between the spectator and the film? And how can we imagine the conditions that make this educational movement possible in the first place? In the paper, I draw on two philosophers to theorize education in this encounter with the artwork: the German philosopher Hans-Georg Gadamer and the French philosopher Jacques Maritain helped me here. So Gadamer helped me to understand the structure of the educational interaction between a spectator and an artwork, and Maritain helped me to imagine the ontological conditions that make this educational movement in aesthetic experience possible. So Gadamer very interestingly describes the structure of interaction between the spectator and the artwork as a process of formation or self-formation. In Germany, he uses the term Bildung. So in our dialogue with the artwork then, both we as spectators, but also the artwork itself, they experience a kind of formation, because both spectator and artwork are coming into form in this event of aesthetic experience. For example, when we're watching a film. Gadamer thinks that in this process of formation, actually the spectator artwork or subject-object relationship is actually dissolved. In order for education to happen then, we as spectators need to lose ourself, our cultural self, what we know of the world and the human relationships in it, for example, whilst attending fully to what is presented to us in the aesthetic elements of the artwork. So Gadamer would say that our horizon broadens then as we find ourselves again, but with sensory and cognitive relations transformed in the encounter with the artwork. In the paper, I use a YouTube video example where children react for the first time to the dramatic climax in George Lucas' film The Empire Strikes Back, so where Luke Skywalker finds out that Darth Vader is his father. So I show that the meaning of this key moment in Empire Strikes Back unfolds in very specific spatial and temporal conditions. The children's horizon of meaning expands, sometimes uncomfortably, as they learn about moral relations in the world, in the time and rhythm of what is presented to them through the crafted aesthetic elements of the film, its compositions, its edits, music, and so on. So the film's aesthetic elements do not only determine how the spectator plays with meaning, but also in what temporal rhythm meaning unfolds here. The question that then emerges, of course, is how an artist crafts an artwork so that it can draw us into this play with meaning in the first place. And here Jacques Maritain helps. He imagines the ontological conditions of this aesthetic education. He suggests, in fact, that this moment of being drawn into paying attention to an artwork is an instance of the mode of the beautiful at work, which is equally important for the act of craftsmanship, when an artist arranges forms and shapes, symbols, and so on. For Maritain, who was a follower of the theologian and philosopher Thomas Aquinas, beauty is a transcendental, which means that it is a property of being itself. So in order for the artist to create an artwork that can draw us into self-formation, the act of craftsmanship itself, Maritain suggests here, needs to be thought as a participation, not only in beauty, but in the strange mystery of being, the fact that there is something rather than nothing. So if you want to find out how the artist participates in the mode of the beautiful and sustains our educational movement, well, you have to read the paper.